Welcome to Football Discussion Daily. My name is Joe, and I'm here with the co-host
You.
CGO or George. Today is the 17th of April, 2026. If you like our podcast, please subscribe. We release long form on YouTube every day and shorter form on Instagram, TikTok, and other platforms. We are back. George is in Nigeria for family matters for a little bit, but we are back. We are talking about the UEFA Europa League results and UEFA Conference League results. And today was the quarterfinals. We had advanced in the Europa League. We're going to have Braga, who won today. Freiburg in the semifinals. We're going to have Nottingham Forest play Aston Villa. And today, Aston Villa won handily 4-0. Nottingham Forest won 1-0. So, Freiburg won 3-1. And Braga beat Betis 4-2. And in the Conference League, you had Shakhtar Donetsk. They drew Ajax today, but they went through. Crystal Palace lost today, but they went through against Fiorentina on aggregate. We had AEK Athens beat Rayo Valencia, but Valencia went through on aggregate. And then finally, we had Strasbourg overcome a 2-0 deficit to beat Mons 0-5 to 4-2. So we have in the Conference League, we have Shakhtar Donetsk versus Crystal Palace, Rayo Valencia versus Strasbourg. George, for you, what of these four ties within these two second tier competitions, but still important competitions, excites you the most? What will you be turning into?
To be honest with you, I think the Europa League is the one that excites me more, considering the fact that the winner is given the privilege to play in the Champions League. We saw that with Tottenham last season even when they struggled in the Premier League, for the fact that they defeated Manchester United in the finals, that gave them the qualification to play in the Champions League. So I'm sure a coach like Unai Emery will take this very serious because we all know he's an expert when it comes to winning the Europa League. We've seen him do that uh, with uh, with Villarreal, with Sevilla. This competition is not something new to a coach like him. And now that we have a reward of playing in the Champions League, that will be an extra motivation for Aston Villa. That's the competition that excites me more apart from the Champions League.
Okay. George, interesting question. We have the possibility here. I think there's two interesting Premier League possibilities here because just from a placement perspective, there's good storylines. Nottingham Forest could very well win this tournament and get relegated. Both of those things are very possible. Nottingham Forest obviously has a lot of talent in their team, but if when they're bad, they're bad. When they're good, they're good. They've been very inconsistent this year. I think they're going to stay up. I think you do. I don't think they're going to win the tournament. I don't think you do either. But both are possible. And how crazy would it be to see a team in the Champions League who's also in the championship?
That would be something very interesting to see. But I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But
Yes.
nothing is impossible in football. And when you look at the how competitive the Premier League is, you can't rule out that. We saw how Tottenham struggled so much. If not that they gathered points at the early stage of the Premier League last season, they would have actually been relegated. When you look at the amount of points they got in the second half of the league, they would have actually been relegated. But because they were able to gather a lot of points in the first phase of the league, that helped them not to get relegated. So, but they went ahead and won the Europa League. So, Nottingham Forest might even get relegated and still win this competition. That is something you can't rule out, especially when you look at how strong the Premier League is. So, it can happen. You can't rule out that. It's just that it will be a big surprise.
Last year, I believe, though, the three relegated teams were very poor last year, and Wolves would have are a better team than any of the three relegated teams from last year. And
Yes.
Tottenham realized quite early on they got 17th, but I think they were like 8 or 9 points clear of relegation or something like that. I don't have it in front of me, but they realized very early on that they were safe. I think it's this year's 17th is a lot more danger than last year's 17th. So there is a big difference there. Tottenham were not actively fighting relegation at this point in the season. Not quite as they weren't flirting with it nearly as closely as Nottingham Forest. It's still an interesting storyline. I think that Nottingham Forest, if you told them you're going to get Champions League, or you're going to get relegated, they'd absolutely take it. I'll say this: if Brentford get into the Europa League next year, and you telling me at the beginning of the season you'll win it, but you'll get relegated, I'll be like, where do I sign up? I feel like as fans of the team, you play for Champions League, and I think they're going to lose their best player, Elliot Anderson, anyway. He did not play today. It obviously did not matter, but I think he's gone. He's had a fantastic season. Hopefully, he's one of the few very consistent spots on Nottingham Forest.
So, Joe, let's assume you are a Nottingham Forest fan, for example, and you are given the option of either winning Europa League and playing the Champions League next season, or getting relegated, or surviving relegation and not winning the Europa League. Which option would you prefer?
I'd pick Champions League all day. I feel like it's a once in a decades long opportunity for a club like Nottingham Forest, or any team that's not in the proverbial top six. I'd add Aston Villa in their top seven, maybe Newcastle 8. It's just very, very difficult to qualify for the Champions League when there's 8 or 9 teams entrenched in England with significant budgets. So I'd obviously take that. So we'll see. George,
there's one other question I have for you. I don't know if you watched the game between Real Betis and Braga. Real Betis were 2-0 ahead, and it was more like they were already coasting away, because remember the first leg ended 1-1, and then playing the second leg there in Spain, they were 2-0 up, and then before you knew it, everything, the whole story changed. At the end of the day, the game ended 4-2. So it was a great comeback for Braga. That was the most interesting game for me today, because when Real Betis were leading 2-0, I thought they were already coasting away. So I don't know what your reaction is regarding this particular game.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the extended highlights. I'd be lying if I said I watched Betis play more than once or twice this season. I thought that the goal I did see this goal they scored from Anthony, which was a very well worked goal. But these teams, Georgia, the quality is a little bit lower than Champions League. That means it can be easier to come back. That means there can be a little bit more variance between the results. I think it's really exciting. It's a great opportunity to get exposed to a team that you don't usually get exposure to. I think today was the first time I'd ever really seen Braga play, because I saw probably 20 minutes of this match. And they looked. I've always been dismissive of Portugal League outside of the top 3, and I thought they were they played very well too. So I think it's exciting to see them in the semifinal and what they can do against Freiburg.
So before the game, were you expecting a team from Portugal to knock out a Spanish club at this stage?
No, I mean, because in my opinion, Spain is very clearly the second best league in the world at worst. You could even argue that there's years where they're stronger than the Premier League, and Portugal, outside of the big 3, have not really made a lot of noise in the 30 or so, 20 years or so I've been watching, 25 years or so. So, it's really exciting to see again a non-big 3 Portugal team do well, and we'll see. George, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So today's results and the potential results of this competition does impact Chelsea.
Yes.
Because I believe if Aston Villa wins, then Chelsea can get 6th and still qualify for Champions League. But alternatively, if Strasbourg wins, they're in Europa. Oh no, they're in the Conference League. If they win, and Aston Villa does not win, and Chelsea gets 6th, that means Chelsea goes to Conference League, not into Europa League next season. And that would mean that the 7th place team i.e. Brentford, has another path to get into the Europa League. do you feel like that impacts what Chelsea's targets are this season? And
Well,
also, this is all very confusing, and I believe my understanding is right. Um, but it's just the possibilities in terms of what could happen the next month and a half for Chelsea's season are crazy. Do you feel like this changes their targets?
see, that's why most times you have to take your destiny in your own hands. Now, if you are putting your hope on other teams for you to get to certain competition, then that's where you start doing all these permutations. Now, if Chelsea, if the Chelsea team can do what they're supposed to do as a big club, we shouldn't be talking about this permutation. So all they need to do is finish in the top five, and whatever happens with Strasbourg or Aston Villa, you wouldn't care. So for me, the best thing they can do is if Chelsea can win the remaining of their games, which I'm very skeptical they can do, then they can secure a top four, a top five, because they are going to play Liverpool. Liverpool is currently fifth on the table. So if they can play Liverpool and get a win, they will play Manchester United this weekend. If they can get a win, because these are the teams you are battling the top five with. If you can get a win against them the way they did against Aston Villa, then that will help them to maybe finish in the top four, top five. And then
Yeah,
whatever
George.
happens with Strasbourg and Aston Villa, that wouldn't matter anymore.
I
That's
mean,
what I
there.
feel.
Yeah. No, it's just interesting because you kind of have to. You should probably be rooting for Aston Villa at this point, and Aston Villa is probably favorites in this knockout competition. Either certainly not runaway favorites, but probably out of the four, they have the highest chances of winning. So it does turn. It is an interesting scenario where it's in Chelsea's best interest to see Aston Villa win this thing, and it could potentially be not in Chelsea's best interest to have Strasbourg win. So just two interesting scenarios that could play out over the next month. I think it's interesting. Chelsea is not going to win 6 straight games in the Premier League. I'll tell you that right now. Um, they haven't won 6 straight games in the Premier League in probably 2 or 3 years, I'd guess. I don't know. It's been a while. It's just also it's a very difficult league this season, very scrunched up in terms of quality. But Chelsea certainly have hope to. They don't need to win all six to get that fifth spot because Liverpool are not going to win all six either. We'll see. We'll talk more about those Champions League spots. George, again, did you watch any of these games today? And was there a standout performance or player for you that you saw?
I think the game Aston Villa played, only Watkins was very very good today. In the game they won today, he did so well. He was I think one of the best player we have in the Aston Villa team against Bologna. So I think that was one game they won very convincingly, 4 goals to nothing. That's not a joke. It shows you why they are seen as the favorite to win this competition. And in all honesty, if you ask me, Aston Villa looks like that team that will go all the way. From the start of the Europa League, I've always seen them as that team that will go all the way. I don't think Nottingham Forest can stop this Aston Villa team, because a team that is playing the Premier League and they are currently fourth place. I think they have the same point with Manchester United at the moment. That kind of a team is not a team you should take for granted. And if you look at Aston Villa as been battling with when it comes to spending money in the transfer window. But yet, their coach on Emery has been able to manage the situation. So I really give him a lot of credit for the way he has been able to manage the team. Imagine if they have a lot of fun, if not for the PSR, I'm sure if they had been able to get more players, have more squad depth, I'm sure they would have really done a lot. But even they might even be pushing to win the league, but unfortunately, the financial issue didn't really help them. But I think with what they are, they can really manage the Europa League uh, the way things are going, and I think they will finish well. So that's one game uh, I enjoyed today because it was full domination
Yeah.
against Bologna.
I did see quite a bit of that game too. It looked like Crystal Palace was a stronger team. I also feel like it feeds in this narrative that we've been talking about a weaker, much weaker Italian league. That seems to be a trend lately. I feel like a lot of the Italian teams are weaker when you're looking at Bologna. But credit to Aston Villa. Sorry,
Yes,
uh,
it's Aston Villa against
Aston Villa.
Bologna.
Aston Villa played, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the
Crystal Palace
Conference
also
League where
played an Italian team in
Fiorentina, yeah.
Fiorentina.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was getting my ties confused. I watched a little bit of both games, and it looked like both English teams were quite handily better than the other team. So that's a shame for Italian football. We talked about that, George. So it should be a fun chance to recover. It should be interesting for them.
So, what do you think will be the? What do you think? How do you think the fans of Nottingham Forest will be feeling now? Because this is the first time they are getting to the semi-final of a major European competition after 42 years. What do you think the feeling of the fans would be currently?
Yeah, I mean, I think that these fans are probably already not that worried about relegation. They're a couple points up. Tottenham do not look like they're going to pick up a lot of points. Um, but yeah, so I think that these fans have their eyes are looking up the table, looking up at the competition rather than looking down and being worried. Again, I've said earlier, I think the mentality of these fans has got to be, let's go all out for a trophy. If that puts us a slightly higher risk for relegation, who cares? Like, trophy's a trophy. Um, so I think that has to be the mentality of the fans, and I'd be super excited if I were them. European semifinals do not come on around super often, so it's exciting.
So do you see English teams winning the Europa League and the Conference League? Do you think that is what will finally happen at the end of these two competitions?
Conference League, no. I do think Palace is a strong team. I don't think Palace. I think Palace has a chance, but I no, I don't think they'll win. And I think an English team will win the Conference League. I will be favorites for the Conference League. I think Nottingham or Aston Villa will be favorites over Braga or Reber. So
That is for the Europa League.
that is for Europa League, but for Conference, no. I think Crystal Palace. I think that they'll get to the final and lose against. I'm going to go with Strasbourg to win it.
So you want Strasbourg to win so that in case maybe there is a slip up from Aston Villa, then Chelsea might have to go and play.
I do think it would be a humorous situation if Chelsea's multi-club partnership did impact their Chelsea's ability to compete in next year's higher level competition. Yes, I do think that would be humorous. All right, George, let me close out with our standard questions. Number one, who was your standout performer today? Was it a team? Was it a player? Let us know your thoughts. What are your predictions for the Europa League semifinals? Do you think it will be do you think the English team will win the finals? Do you think Nottingham Forest or Aston Villa? Who do you think is going to go through? Let us know your thoughts. And also, there's very interesting possibilities with Chelsea that have opened up today. What do you think the craziest scenario that could possibly happen is? I think it's funny. I think it's George probably less so because he's more involved in there. But it's very interesting regardless. Thank you for listening. Let us know your thoughts.